Alright, so, we finally have a trailer and some details surrounding Jurassic World Evolution 3, which will be launching in October this year. Having posted my Evo 3 wishlist not too long ago, I feel like it only makes sense to take a peek at what we know about this game so far, and if it's looking up to be worth another £50 purchase, which I must say before anything else, I am really surprised and grateful that they didn't raise the price. A lot of bigger companies are upping the cost of their games at the moment, the latest Call of Duty being £70, which is absurd. But enough dilly-dallying, let's see if this game is going to prove itself. Baby dinosaurs. Wasn't on my personal list, but it was one of the most heavily requested features and I definitely understand why. Baby animals are cute. It adds a bit more of a comforting naturality to running your parks, you won't have to do as much manual repopulating, and it comes with a whole host of new interactions that will make everything feel so much more alive, as seen in the trailer. Guests seem to be able to interact with them too, which is pretty sweet. Here's hoping it won't be as horrible a display of animal abuse as the petting zoo from the movie. You'll also either have to kickstart or aid your dinosaurs with creating and raising their children by using nests, which should hopefully add more to the interactability of the system as well as providing more incentives and inspiration for park decoration. Even if you didn't want it specifically, I don't feel like there's any reason to hate this addition. It's fun. With nesting comes the importance of having both males and females in your parks, which is accompanied by sexual dimorphism in all but a select few species. A bit more of a quality of life change than the babies, but helps with immersion and adds more variety to your dinosaurs. I am worried with how they execute it though, as the only clear example of dimorphism that I believe is present in the trailer is the Triceratops, which just has a bigger frill and it looks pretty dumb. Preferably not every dinosaur's dimorphism will just be the male having a bigger version of a feature or having colours that the female doesn't have, and instead we'll get something more interesting and creative. But right now we don't have enough info to be certain they'll put the effort into doing that. Worst case scenario, you have to euthanize the bad looking parents after conception. These should still be great additions though regardless, providing the game with up to 240 unique dinosaur models between the guys, girls and kids. The only catch is that the time and resources taken to make them may have been the cause of us having at least 40 less dinosaurs than what the previous game ended on. And that's being generous by assuming they won't add anything new to the game, which could mean axing up to 50 or more creatures. Now I'm all for cutting the fluff out of dino game rosters, especially if it means a higher level of quality in the ones that are kept, but even just the 40 cut creatures is a lot to get rid of. It depends on personal preferences how much this decision will affect you, but even if they are supposedly prioritizing franchise icons and fan favorites, I feel like they're bound to annoy a large number of players with their cuts anyway, purely due to the number of them. I for one will need to see a list of the ones they got rid of to form a proper opinion, but as long as they don't drop some of their more recent clean designs like Chrono and the Feathered Dinos, I'll probably be chill with it. They're also adding additional dinosaur behaviors beyond the babies, including but hopefully not limited to swimming dinosaurs and pterosaurs being able to traverse the land, which are two more heavily requested features by the community. It's even stated that semi-aquatics will be able to swim in deeper water, as opposed to being restricted to enclosure pools. This should mean, along with the very specifically named shallow water building option, that we will now have proper water depth options and that you can possibly transition between the two, letting dinosaurs and marine reptiles live together and even interact with each other. That aspect is yet to be confirmed, but I don't feel like they would add this feature without it, considering it was one of the biggest reasons people wanted it. The swimming specifically was high on my own wish list, so I'm really happy to see it be integrated to some degree. My only concern again is the lack of information that we have on it so far. If it's just restricted to Spinosaurids, then it'll still be a good feature, sure, but I'll be a little disappointed that they didn't maximize its potential. But you know, I think I'm still willing to accept that, considering that marine customization should now be possible as I'd wished for, granted to us by the modular building system. That's right, Evolution is finally catching up to not only its competitors, but other games made by the same company when it comes to actually building your park. You should now be able to highly customize your buildings if not create them from the ground up, craft more unique and precise terrain, and probably most exciting, make enclosures without the need for fences, which could only really be done with special tricks in the previous games. You can possibly create caves and dens with this too, which is something that I'd requested. It's about damn time that building in this park builder game felt free and expansive. And I think that's about it for important additions, but they also stated that we'll be getting new attractions like the Balloon Tour, which is something people have wanted back since JPOG, and a Dinosaur Encounter, which is likely to be the petting zoo option. The campaign will also not be centered around the movies, thank God. and will instead take you to different locations around the world trying to 5-star parks, which is a bit more reminiscent of the original islands, but presumably with more diverse aesthetics as I was hoping for. It looks like there's going to be some sort of evil saboteur faction too, so that could be interesting. They're also adding security cameras which will help you automate responses to danger, which is a good way to cut down the stress after adding in babies you need to manage and encouraging people to spend more time on their builds. The only problems I can really have with anything shown in the trailer is that it seems like they're keeping some of the shitty dull gradient type default skins, but I'll wait until we know how the skin system is going to work before I decide how much that bothers me. In a bit of a void, this game is looking super promising, and it would totally be worth the purchase if it weren't the third one they've made. As a sequel to a sequel, as much as it improves and expands on the previous titles, I'm not quite seeing enough here for me to be able to justify a third AAA purchase. We're not seeing any dino toys, we're not hearing about any alternate game modes, we're not seeing anything from the Cenozoic, and for the most part, all there is to show in terms of big new features are stuff that's carried over from the other Frontier games, and that cheaper alternatives have already implemented or are actively working on. And with the Evolution series being almost all there is available as far as modern Jurassic games go, with hype for JP Survival slowing to a crawl as they show off one screenshot per Pope, I can't help but be a little unimpressed that this was all they could accomplish as the next and only known Jurassic release for the near future. That's without even mentioning the current AI-generated scientist debacle going on. I personally am on the side of discouraging use of generative AI no matter how harmless its inclusion appears to be or how easy it is to notice. All they had to do was get a dozen of their staff members to pose for a photo in a lab coat, but they actively chose to take the lazy, controversial route instead, and that's really disappointing. On the topic of laziness and greed, the deluxe edition is selling you 2 dinosaurs that were already part of the previous entry. Awesome. Yes, I'm aware that both of these things happened in Evo 2, it does not make me like them. I completely understand why people are excited for this game, and I think there's a lot of reasons you would want to buy it. In fact, I've spent most of this video reading those aloud to you. But I feel like this could have been more than what we've been presented with so far, and I can only hope that they have extra surprises to show us down the line. Because as far as I can tell right now, for me at least, and having already bought the first 2 games, Jurassic World Evolution 3 has not quite proven its worth. I'd love to hear your thoughts and why you are or aren't going to buy this new entry. Thanks for watching, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.